So much going on at the moment with West Ham United. It's remarkable, actually, isn't it? Just every 5 minutes there's something new coming out, and we're linked with him. We're going to make a bid here, or there's talks about unrest behind the scenes and all these things. Just constant news coming out. So, I'll be honest. The actual video that I was planning to do today was talk about David Moyes, talk about the 4-0 defeat to Leverkusen. Hence why this is slightly a little bit out of sync a little bit, because that was naturally be the video today. I'll be talking about that and feelings on that result and the feelings on the manager, because not impressed at all. I think there's a lot to discuss there, and we will talk about that in a video tomorrow, though, David Moyes. I want to keep this a little bit more positive today because, as I say, the reason I've now parked that video and delayed it for tomorrow is because there's just so much going on. I think we need a transfer news video in regards to exactly what's going on. Before I carry on, though, the new away top. If you want to get a copy of it, if you want a chance to win a West Ham away top or home, or even the third kit, which I think is going to be released next week, I think. Yeah, it will be, because before the start of the season. That was what was reported by X. So all you need to do is be a subscriber. So if you're not a subscriber to the channel, just click subscribe. It's free to do so, and then you enter a competition. And we've already given away one, and we're going to be giving away one every month for the whole season. It's free to enter, so it's no problem. Nothing to lose. You might as well go for it. So here we go then, transfers. Let's talk about some positive things, because there is some positivity coming out of the club at the moment. We feel like we've been clutching at straws, haven't we, this transfer, when we're trying to find some positivity, because my word, it has been very negative. But it appears there is some positivity at the moment, and that's regarding Edson Alvarez, a player, I'm going to be honest, I was really keen for West Ham to get. I've looked at a lot of footage of the player, looked back at some of the matches he's played, just also for Mexico and for Ajax. I just think he looks a player that West Ham could really utilise. He's tough and gets stuck in, defensive midfielder. I think it's just exactly what West Ham need. A bit of grit. It's something we seem to be lacking at the moment in our side. We seem to be too soft. And it appears now that deal is moving forward. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to be too optimistic with this, because I feel like we get our fingers burnt, don't we? Being West Ham fans, we get a little bit excited, hear this good news, all these things are happening, and then things can go wrong. So I'm still being a little bit cautious, but it appears that deal is moving forward, and he could well be a West Ham player very soon. So let's lean on the side of optimism. Okay, so let's just try our best here. Personal terms have been agreed. The player really wants to move, and in fact, according to reports, he's ready to fly to London to do his medical immediately. So he's apparently, I believe, in Mexico at the moment with his family. So that's exciting. The bid is £30 million that's gone in for the player. Apparently, Ajax want around 35 million. That will secure the deal. I'm going to be honest here. This is where my frustrations come in, because I just think we'll just pay it then. We need a defensive midfielder in. This is the player we want. With 5 million out, just get the deal done. So again, it's painful, isn't it, West Ham? But I'm going to try and remain optimistic that we're going to get this done. But my feeling is just go and get it done now. Like, I can't keep listening to West Ham weighing up, coming back, and we're going to try and meet them somewhere in the middle. Just pay 35 million. Just pay it. Do you know what I mean? Show some grit. Just show some ambition. We want that player. We're not going to sit here and negotiate for days on end. We just want to get him in. Because as I said, the player's willing to come to West Ham. He's waiting to take the flights for his medical. So just get the deal done. We're talking a few million quid. And the fact is, we're selling players at the moment, adding to our kitty. So I don't really see what the problem is. But as I say, keep calm. I'm hopeful this deal will happen. But there's also obviously a twist in the tail. There's obviously going to be some form of concern. One being West Ham. That's one concern. West Ham are negotiating. That's always a horror show in my mind. The second is the fact that Chelsea are also interested in the player, and there's reports that they might be looking to hijack the move. Again, if that's the case, we know that Chelsea are interested because X has reported it already. Just get it done. Just agree the 35, get the player on the plane and get him over here, because the quicker he gets that medical done, the quicker he can be holding up his top, because the personal terms are all agreed. So it's quite literally just a case to just get this sorted out. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Now, the update we've had, and this is from, I think, Fabrizio Romano. I think it's coming from Sky, it's coming from X. So this is all like sort of, I've pulled together all the quotes and bits and pieces of it, that apparently the talks are very positive and respectful, apparently, between the sides. Apparently, very good talks between Ajax and West Ham. Quite surprising, because in fact, Ajax just hijacked our move for Carlos Borges, but apparently getting on very well with them. So that's something that's pleasing. And as I said, the player wants to move. So it looks as though, at this stage, Edson Alvarez will be coming to West Ham. That's how it looks. I'm not saying it's going to happen, And we haven't had anything confirmed 100%, but it does appear that is going to happen. I'm going to jump, actually. I was going to talk about somebody else. I was going to talk about Harry Maguire. I'm going to jump, actually, to Scamacca. The reason I'm jumping to Scamacca because I've just realised that this is one that has been given that here we go and it's all confirmed and it's definitely going to happen, is that Scamacca is leaving West Ham. No real surprise, to be honest, for me. I'm gutted, really, in a way, because I was really hoping that Scamacca was going to be our main striker for a while. I thought, he showed signs of promise, good player. Again, he just doesn't fit the system. It's been another nightmare. I'm going to be brutally honest now. I'm going to be open and honest about this. I've got a friend that works at the club. He works in the academy side of things. I don't want to go into too much detail. And so all I'm saying, he's very knowledgeable about football, very knowledgeable. He's quite incredible. He's one of those people you hang out with, his knowledge of the game and players abroad and all these things. He's quite like an encyclopedia. And when we signed Scamacca, I was like everybody else, excited. Yeah, it sounds great. And, buzzing to get him to the club. And he immediately told me, this is going to be another Hilaire. This is the same problem. He's not going to fit our system. I'm telling you, this won't last, and he'll be gone in the season. And he was right. I'm gutted about that. I'm frustrated and gutted, because I wanted it to work out. However, I will say, I know people are going to say, yeah, you're doing the thing, you don't like Scamacca. I don't like the player's attitude. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I like the player's ability. I like the player. He's hold-up player, and he's everything else. Great finisher, wonderful, great header of the ball as well. But I don't like his attitude. I never have. I've not warmed to him. I found him to not really look like he was that interested. He's never really come across like he liked being at West Ham. He's never really come across that dedicated. And as I've said, I know I'm repeating myself here, but I never liked the fact that he never came to see us in our semi-final. He went to watch Roma instead. For me, that's a slap in the face. I didn't like that. I feel that just sums up where your mind is at with West Ham United. You don't care. And this summer's proved it. He doesn't care. He wants to go back to Italy. It's not worked out. It's been a disaster for West Ham. It really has. In fact, it's been now reported that West Ham are writing off the loss. We're going to lose £10 million on Scamacca overall. That's going to be the loss. It's shambolic. It's shambolic from the football club to keep doing this. We've had this time and time again. We did it with Hilaire. And let's be honest, these two are the kind of most recent, but this is an ongoing list, isn't it, now, of players that we bring in for spending a fair bit of money on. You got Felipe Anderson. We did the same. I think we sold Paul Anderson for 40, sold him for 15, I think. What's that, 25 loss? I mean, absolutely catastrophic business sense. It's West Ham just don't do their homework. They don't. We don't get players in that fit the system. We get players in and try and make them fit. It just doesn't make sense. You're bringing the wrong. It's not Hilaire's. It's not Scamacca's fault, or Hilaire's, or Anderson's, or anything. We just buy the wrong players, and we keep expecting them to fill these voids. It just doesn't work. It's the old square pegs in round hole scenario. It doesn't work, and this has not worked, and it's embarrassing. Really embarrassing. I talked about it in a previous video when he was heavily linked to Inter Milan. In fact, it was looking like Inter Milan was the club he was going to, but Atalanta have come for. It's Atalanta. I keep saying Atlanta. Atalanta have come forward and got the deal done. But it's a big loss. It comes out, ExWHUEmployees actually reported further on this. Apparently, David Moyes didn't want the sale and tried to stop it from happening. He wanted to work with Scamacca for another season. However, Scamacca spoke to Moyes and made it very, very clear that he wanted to return. He didn't want to be at the club anymore, so he had to basically accept that he was going. So that's the story. So as I've said, Scamacca never wanted to be at West Ham. I don't think he ever really wanted it, in my opinion. Maybe obviously not the start. I'm sure at the start he was keen to do well. But I think it was quite obvious from early on he wasn't really that keen. He just didn't look happy, did he? And he never looked hungry or part of it. He never looked part of the system, part of the setup. Something was wrong very early on for Scamacca. And it's sad. It's sad because people will say, "Oh yeah, but you've always been slagging off." I didn't. If you look at the earlier videos, I was raving about him. I thought, we got ourselves a proper striker, brilliant. So it's a painful one. It's a painful one to see happen, but there is a bit of good news. There is a bit of good news on this one, though. When I say it's good news, I suppose it is good news, is that West Ham are looking for a replacement. They are eyeing up a replacement striker. It's probably not good news, is it, West Ham? West Ham signing strikers is never a good thing. But we have been heavily linked again with Brozier, Chelsea. You'd imagine now Brozier, I mean, I'm going off on tangent here because I wasn't going to talk about Brozier. I'm going to do that later on. But you'd imagine he would be quite keen to move on from Chelsea now. In a season, I know he's been injured. I know they got a new manager in, to be fair, as well. So you might want to be impressing him. But surely now, considering the fact he had a loan at, was it Southampton a couple of seasons ago and did very well, scored goals. And that's how he kind of got noticed by a lot of the bigger clubs. And don't get me wrong, he was already at Chelsea at that point. He was on loan. But kind of get the feeling he'd want to go back to that now. He needs to be playing football. Some of these players are just sitting on benches and bit part roles. You do look at them and think, really, is that what you want? Conor Gallagher being another one, like really? I get though, you might want to try and earn yourself a spot in a big club. I do get it, but there's also that point of you thinking, surely you just want to go and play football. It's hardly like a bad place to come, is it, to West Ham? Well, maybe not right at this second, but in general. So there you go. West Ham are after a replacement striker. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, but let's just try and, as I say, let's be optimistic. It's a Sunday. We're looking forward to ending this week on a high, a new fresh week coming up where West Ham are going to sign all the players we've all dreamed of getting, of course. So let's lean on to optimism that it's a good thing that West Ham are now selling Scamacca, but they're going to reinvest. They're going to spend more money. And let's be honest, if West Ham are getting, I think it's 25 million, I think around that, so 20, 25 million-ish for Scamacca, coupled with the fact that we're selling Vlasic, plus the 105, plus whatever budget we have, West Ham should be having around about, you'd think, about £200 million in our pocket here to be spending. That's really what West Ham should be having to spend, ish. So that's what annoys me when I read about West Ham are trying to negotiate between 30 and 35 million, meet somewhere in the middle. Or just pay the 30, pay the 35, pay it, just get it done. Do you know what I mean? Painful. But anyway, I told you it's going to be optimistic. I told you I'd stay optimistic all video. So anyway, yeah, so Scamacca's off. Personally, not overly that bothered now. I'm annoyed it didn't work out because I like the fact that he's a good player, clearly a good player, but ultimately I never felt he fitted him. And when there was talk about the club were keen to keep him on for another season, etc., etc., I just thought, what's the point? Like we've kind of seen he doesn't fit the system. He doesn't like David Moyes. He doesn't. It's just what is the point? I suppose the only thing that maybe is making me feel a little bit more negative or concerned is that if, and this is a big if David Moyes is to leave the club in the near future, which I think he possibly will, that's my gut feeling this season. I don't think he'll be here all season. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But then I would look back and think, let's just imagine then David Moyes gets replaced. Let's just say in October, just argument's sake, let's just say by end of October or November time, we replace the manager, bring in a young, hungry, a Will Steele or a Michael Carrick or someone, and then you go, I wish we still had Scamacca. It'd have fitted this system. That's my only concern. Look, I'm going off on tangents here, but that's my thought process. Right, and then the last one I want to talk about is Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire. Now, really dividing opinion, Harry Maguire. And I get it. I really do understand why it divides opinion. There's some certain negativity surrounding the player. Personally, I think he's a good player. I'm just going to go out there and say that I think Harry Maguire's a decent defender. I think he's all right. And I actually think a move would do him well. If you trying to take out the Manchester United element a little bit, he hasn't actually been a bad player for Manchester United overall. He's made some mistakes recently. I don't think the captaincy suited him really. I think he struggled with that. But let's not forget how good he was at Leicester. He was a very, very good defender. There's a reason why Manchester United forked out £80 million for him. He's not a poor player. And I actually do think he'd be a decent addition to our squad. But it has divided opinion. People are concerned. I feel like that's just a waste of money. I think West Ham have offered £20 million for him at the moment. I think the reason being is we offered lower because we're saying, well, he's on a high wage, so we'd have to deal with that. But Moyes really wants this player. Now, there is an update on this. ExWHUEmployee has confirmed that the talks are underway. Talks are happening between West Ham and Manchester United for the transfer. West Ham really want him, aka David Moyes really wants him. But that's where we are at the moment. The notes I've just written down here from X's update is that the player has been advised by Manchester United now to consider his future because of apparently England being a key factor in this, because he still wants to retain his England spot and he basically needs to be playing football. He's falling down the pecking order. He's not going to be a key player at Manchester United this season by the looks of it. So I think he apparently is reluctant to leave the club at this stage. I think he's being sort of pushed to say, well, you better start thinking about this. What do you want? Because really you're going to be on the bench all the time here. So it could well be that he has a change of heart and starts thinking, actually, West Ham are a decent option for me. Another interesting point to this as well. David Moyes apparently is talking to the player or his representatives or even Manchester United, whatever, who he's ever talking to. Don't forget Manchester United and David Moyes have got a relationship, of course, so he'll know people at the football club. But apparently he's working hard to convince the player, i.e. making him promises. So that sounds to me like he's saying to him, well, if you come here, you'll be a first choice centre-back, which then raises the question, well, who's he replacing? So anyway, that's where we are with that. But all it appears that this situation with Maguire is that it could well happen, actually. I think a little while ago, it's kind of, yeah, maybe, not so sure. It actually seems like it's got a bit of traction in it now. This could well happen, you know. There's something could happen here. I'm not 100% sure. Also, it's been confirmed that West Ham have requested medical notes of the player. Apparently, that's common practice. I've not really heard that one before, but apparently it is. They get like doctor's notes and so they can just go through their history. I'm guessing it sounds about right, but it's just something you never hear, do you? You don't really hear that. But apparently, that's what's happened. That Manchester United have provided these notes, and the twist is with that only do they get the notes for Harry Maguire, they've also got the notes for Scott McTominay. West Ham are exploring a double swoop for those players. It's a really confusing one, isn't it, this transfer window? Because you're hearing all this that we're getting closer and closer, but then you're hearing about Alvarez getting closer, and then you're hearing about Ward-Prowse. Who are we getting then? Who are we getting? This is typical West Ham, isn't it? This scattergun, and we don't know who we're getting, who we're going for. It's such a mess. But anyway, that's what it looks like. So Alvarez looking close, looking like that could well happen. Harry Maguire, looks like there's something in it. I'm not sure I'm convinced it will happen, to be honest. I'm not that overly confident, but it could well be. It could well be by in the transfer window. We could well be getting him in. I kind of get the feeling that's the kind of player that would be at the end. Do you know what I mean, Maguire? I can't imagine it'd be an early one we get done because I don't know whether that's so urgent. I think we've got other business to do elsewhere, but you kind of get the feeling that maybe he could well be a deadline day for me, Harry Maguire. And Scamacca, obviously, that's now confirmed. He will be going to Atalanta, I believe. I think there's talk that there could be some rival bids possibly happening, but I think Atalanta is the one that's done, and he looks like where he's going to go. So there you go. But as I've said, there is a little bit of positivity in it, if you want to call it that West Ham will be looking for a replacement striker.